Prison nicknames. Forget what you think you know about them, because I'm about to flip the script on all of that. Most people will tell you that prison nicknames are earned through blood and a code of conduct. If you keep it real, you get a real prison nickname. You know, most people will get on these YouTube streets and they'll tell you, man, when I was in prison, man, I was in a cell with a dude called Knife Wielder. And you're like, oh, Knife Wielder, that dude must be tough. And they'll be like, man, Knife Wielder was the baddest celling anybody could have, man. And only I could live in a cell with Knife Wielder. Knife Wielder cut like 8 people up. He's chopped one up and filleted him like a fish. And when the guards came in the cell, they were like, Knife Wielder, you got another one, Knife Wielder? And they'll beat their chest and be like, and I could live in the cell with Knife Wielder. Pump the brakes on that crap, because I'm about to make you just laugh. I'm going to give you the absurdity of prison nicknames. I'm not going to sit here and tell you about all the toughest and baddest prison nicknames and all the dudes who were head busters and got their names on the street. No, I'm going to give you prison nicknames that are so stupid and absurd. You like, yeah, I never want to go to prison because I don't want to be looked at like a stupid idiot like these dudes. And stick around to the end of the video, because I'm going to tell you how you can get your very own prison nickname. That's right. I'm going to share with you how you, at the end of this video, can get your own prison nickname, or you can get a prison nickname for a friend or a coworker. You're not going to want to miss it. But let's jump into this list of prison nicknames that I compiled of people that I met in prison who had prison nicknames that I never forgot. And somehow I remember the dumber prison nicknames as opposed to the tougher prison nicknames. I don't know what it is that everybody wants to paint prison, that every single day was this tough bad boy image, that every day you had to walk around, you know what I mean, and be tough. Nobody lives their life like that. You can't live like every second like that. Most of these people in prison are just fools. And so they get foolish nicknames like the ones on this list. Number 1, Nub. That's right, Nub. How'd he get the nickname Nub? Because when he was breaking in houses to get that crack, he only had one hand. The other hand was cut off. He was born with a half a hand, so he had a nub. And he gloved up on his regular hand. He wore blue nitrile gloves on his one hand, but he didn't put no glove on his nub. And so when the St. Tammany Parish Police Department went to do a fingerprint check on all the houses and cars that were getting burglarized so he can get his crack, they didn't have a fingerprint, but they had a nub print. There was a consistency. There was a literal nub print on all the windows. And so when they caught him, they said, you know how we caught you? He said, how? They said, because we recognized there was this weird print everywhere. And then our forensic pathologist said, well, maybe the person you're looking for actually has a missing hand. And they said, oh, we know who that is. And everybody started speaking immediately. And that's when they called the dude Nub. So he went to prison and he got a nickname called Nub because he was burglarizing all them houses to get that crack. Now they call him Nub in prison. He gloved up on his one arm. That was a regular hand, but he forgot to glove up on his nub. Now they call him Nub. Now he's dumb and always be looked at as dumb Nub. Man, I know this stuff sounds crazy. It is. But welcome to the Pen and The Shank, the most unusual and unique crime and prison channel experience on YouTube, where we do things different in this genre, and you're really going to enjoy being part of this community. Let's get into the next nickname. Long Ass Hair. That's right. The dude's name was Long Ass Hair. How'd he get the nickname Long Ass Hair? Man, this boy, I actually felt bad for this dude. When he went in the shower, dudes recognized that his booty had unusually long butt hair. Dude's booty had hair that kind of went down almost to the middle of his leg when it was wet. And so dudes were like, dang, man, how your booty hair get so long? And so all of a sudden, this dude got the nickname of Long Ass Hair. And he's like, he didn't like it, so he tried to avoid it. But he wouldn't, and dudes were like, man, you got to trim your booty hair. And he's like, man, I'm not trimming my hair in jail, man. That's like for punks. They're like, man, nah, dudes are going to make fun of you. So he never trimmed it. So when he got out the thing, his hair would be wet and dripping, and dudes would be like, oh, man, that dude got that long ass hair. And they got his cup, his coffee cup, his favorite coffee cup that he bought with the money that his kids sent him, and they wrote on permanent marker, engraved on it, Long Ass Hair. And he wouldn't get rid of that cup because that was his favorite cup. So he literally walked around the yard And dudes who never knew him, they're like, what that says? Long ass hair. And so the name stuck, long ass hair. So you don't want to get a stupid nickname? Well, don't go to prison. Do something with yourself, man. Read a book. Man, let's get to the next nickname. Property of Meatwagon. That's right. Dude's name was Property of Meatwagon. How'd he get the nickname Property of Meatwagon? This dude... I'm sorry, bear with me, y'all. This is the most absurd thing that I've ever seen in prison. I don't know how this dude got the name Property of Meatwagon, but they called him Property of Meatwagon because on his booty cheek, he had tattooed in bold, ugly, fat letters, Property of Meatwagon. I'm assuming whatever prison he went to when he was young, he belonged to some dude named Meatwagon. And Meatwagon tattooed on his booty, Property of Meatwagon. So that's what they called the dude, Property of Meatwagon. Prison punk, Property of Meatwagon. Man, you don't want to go to prison and get a stupid nickname like Property of Meatwagon? Well, don't do nothing stupid and you won't get stuck in the shower with a stupid tattoo on your booty cheek because you couldn't stand up and fight for your manhood. The only way you get a tattoo on your booty cheek in prison is if you're afraid to fight. And they got some wild and crazy prison punks and some wild and crazy prison pimps. And the pimps like to put their name, you know what I mean? Like spray paint tag all over the punk. And I guess the most vital or realistic place that they can place their moniker is on the booty cheek of the punk. So Meatwagon was letting the whole world know that that punk belonged to him. So you don't want to be like Property of Meatwagon. And the only way you can avoid that is if you don't go to prison. Oh, I know this stuff is crazy, man. The next nickname I put on this list, because this dude I personally knew. And this dude was cool with me. I didn't have a problem talking to him, but man, he used to get on my nerves. Wodie, that's right, Wodie. Dude's name was Wodie. How'd he get the nickname Wodie? I have no clue. He referred to himself in third person as Wodie. So he'd walk around all the time, and he was an indigent dude. Dude didn't have no money, and he loved to beg. And every time he begged, he would get in that canteen line, and he loved to hang out in the canteen line like a wino hangs out at the corner store and waits for an unsuspected customer to come pay for their fuel inside the store. Or when you pumping your gas, he walks up to you like, say, man, can I get like 35 cents? And you pumping your gas and you like 35 cents. What you gonna do with 35 cents? And you pumping the gas, pump, 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 pump. And you like, damn, I pumped too much. Because you're thinking to yourself, why this dude just asked me for 35 cents? Why didn't you just ask for like 50 cents? You know what I mean? Or $1. Anyway, Wodie would walk in the canteen line and he'd be like, say y'all. And his face would look downcast, downtrodden. You could see he was indigent. He looked so sad. Say y'all, Wodie hungry? Yeah. If anybody in this store line could just help Wodie out today, Wodie would be very much appreciated. Wodie would take anything, man. If I can get a soup, I'll be in debt to whoever gets me that soup. And dudes would be looking like, man, Wodie, get out of my face. Because Wodie done bummed the soup from half the store line the week before. And so Wodie would get so desperate, he'd be like, oh, man, I'm hungry, y'all. Because it'd be at the end of the canteen line and nobody ain't gave Wodie a soup. So he'd get desperate and he asked for the cheapest thing on the store sheet, a Chico stick. You ever seen a Chico stick in the store? When a regular candy bar was $1, a Chico stick still sitting at 18 cents. And in the canteen line, it was 12 cents for a Chico stick. I think they put Chico sticks on there just so dudes will have something. You know what I mean? Dudes crush them up and put them in their hookups. Like it's like peanut sauce, you know, dried up peanut powder. You know, that's what a Chico stick is. And Wodie be like, say, bro, if anybody could just give Wodie a Chico stick, you heard me? Wodie would be so appreciative. Wodie hungry, man. And you looking like, man, the steak got to feed you 3 times, Wodie. You ain't going to eat them beans, man. Get out of my face. Chico stick. And so dudes, I feel bad for Wodie. And I give Wodie like 2 Chico sticks. And then Wodie's so ungrateful, he'd be like, dang, man, you could have got me a soup, man, for extra 2 cents instead of these 2 Chico. I'm like, man, Wodie, get up out of my face. Quit begging. Find a way to hustle. All he did was beg. He was a vagabond. You can't feel sorry for people like Wodie. You know, he didn't even have no hustle. Do somebody's laundry, Wodie. Make somebody's bed, Wodie. You know what I mean? Learn how to draw. Do something. Quit begging. The next nickname, Chew Gum Bandit. That's right. They call this dude Chew Gum Bandit. Why they called him the Chew Gum Bandit? Because this fool followed the female correctional officer around when she had gum in her mouth, and when she would spit it out, if she spit it on the ground, she even spit it in a cigarette butt container one time. And he dug it with ashes and everything and put it in his mouth. They're like, dang, bro, you nasty, man. You don't know what that woman got, man. Plus you put it in that cigarette butt can. You know? He like, I don't care. I love her. I love her, you heard me? Chewing the gum. He did this like 3 times before them police officers saw him doing it, locked him up, rolled him out, and sent him all the way. Lost a year good time, stalking, chewing bubble gum that somebody else chewed. You know what I mean? Just because a female chewed it. He's chewing her bubble gum, lusting off of her. They got sick people in prison. That's why you don't want to go there. You know what I mean? Imagine being home on the street and you with your family and somebody's like, what's up, man? I ain't seen you in a while, bro, man. And you're like, I'm doing good and everything. Man, they used to call you Chew Gum Warrior, huh? I mean, Chew Gum Bandit, huh? And his wife's like, he got married. You know, now he got a family. She's like, why they call you? I never knew they called you Chew Gum Bandit. Imagine having to explain yourself because you got a stupid prison nickname that's sick and twisted and perverted like Chew Gum Bandit. You don't want to be like Chew Gum Bandit. Stay home with your family. Don't go to prison. The next prison nickname, Buzzard. Why they call this dude Buzzard? This dude literally walked around sniffing the air. And he said he smelled booty, stank, like a buzzard. He was attracted to booty. He was attracted to stank. He would hang out in the toilet area where punks pooed at. And he wasn't stupid. He didn't try this on no regular people. He only did it to weak, unsuspected inmates who he knew he could turn into a punk. Prison is full of people who are looking to get their rocks off. And Buzzard was no exception. He sniffed booty. And so when a weaker inmate would come to the prison, he thought they wasn't going to stand up for himself. He didn't know. And Buzzard would be sniffing around their bunk. He don't even smell nothing. You know, what's wrong with this dude? You know, maybe it's an act. You know what I mean? It wasn't an act. Because they say he'd go underneath the bunk with a punk, like I talked about before, and sniff their booties. And the punks would be like, yeah, Buzzard like to sniff my butt. And so this is some sick stuff. I know it's sick. I'm not disputing that this stuff is demented and twisted. But Buzzard liked the smell of poo, man's butts. And so Buzzard would try to find weaker people to sniff him out. And he said he could smell the fear. And it came through the rank. And so that's why they called this dude Buzzard. And that's why I don't want to go back to prison to this very day. That's why I finally got my life right. Because I said I had enough of being around these fools. You know? The next prison nickname, Scratch and Sniff. Why they call this dude Scratch and Sniff? Because he was nasty. Dude got punched in his mouth at least a half a dozen times when I was in prison. He was one of them old, you know, crackheads who just was always scratching himself. Scratching. Dude was scratching his crotch, scratch on his feet, and he'd be sniffing his hand. Dude said, man, you sniff your hand one more time, Scratch and Sniff, I'm going to bust in your head, bro. Don't disrespect me when I'm in this dorm. And Scratch would be like, my bad, I ain't mean to. But he couldn't help himself. So Scratch and Sniff would put his hand in his booty. Scratch. Boom! Dude, knock him out. Scratch and Sniff. Dude, he was so used to getting knocked out, I don't even think it bothered him. Dude snuck Scratch and Sniff at least a half a dozen times when I was on the compound because he would not stop scratching his feet and his crotch and his booty and sniffing his hand. He was real fidgety, man. He was on that medicine too. Look, in Louisiana prisons, there ain't a separate place for crazy people. Everybody goes on the same dorms. They mix and match people. They might move you they move Scratch and Sniff to a different dorm, get knocked out there, send them back to the other dorm. Get knocked out there, send them back to the other one. Send them to a different prison, get knocked out there, send them to another prison. That's how crazy it is. The next nickname, and this one is controversial because I did a short on it. And boy, I got some people upset. They were so mad and upset with me. I got like so many thumbs downs. Ooh, they were panicking, but this behind this nickname, Do-Rag White. And why they call him Do-Rag White? Because he was a white dude and he wore a do-rag. And he used the N-word all the time. He was cool with all the black dudes in prison. And that's why they call him Do-Rag White. I didn't make the dude's nickname. I guess the dudes he grew up in the hood with gave him the nickname Do-Rag White. It was real simple. He had the nickname Do-Rag White because he wore a do-rag. He had gold teeth. He was a white dude. Whiter than me. You know anything about my channel long enough, you know I'm mixed with Japanese. So Do-Rag White, wore a do-rag, and he talked like this. Sam, yeah? Sam said, bro, why? What's up, whoa? Why? That's how he talk. A white dude. All right, look. It's cool with me. I ain't got no problem. I ain't got no problem. Talk how you want. You know what I mean? But people are mad because he was a white dude, and I told him about it on my channel, and I told you that they call him do-rag white, and I said that he used the N-word, and they got offended. Nobody in prison told him nothing. So you think he's gonna let you think he's gonna let anybody in the free world tell him something? You know what I mean? Do-rag white wasn't no coward. He knuckled up, man. If you're gonna be white, wear a do-rag and have gold teeth and drop the N-word in prison, you better be about your business. So do-rag white stood on his own 2 feet, man. The next prison nickname is Needleneck. Why they call the dude Needleneck? Because when he got busted shooting that heroin, this dude shot dope for so long, all his veins on his fingers, his feet, you know what I mean? Inside his thighs, you know what I mean? His veins on his arms, all of them were shot. You could see him, needle marks everywhere. He started shooting dope in his neck. And he got so loaded, he was in a convenience store parking lot, passed out with the needle in his neck. And so when the police rolled up on him and they busted him, he had that needle in his neck. And so when he went to the prison, they started calling him Needleneck. You know, the police called him Needleneck. The officers called him Needleneck. Everybody called him Needleneck. So Needleneck, you know, was trying to, you know, make the rest of his neck veins match the rest of his body's veins, you know. But the police called him before he could make a permanent mark, you know. But everything else on his body was marked up, you know, permanent holes. If you know anything about a dope addict, you seen them marked, you know what I'm talking about. The next nickname on my list, Chicken Fingers. Why they call this dude Chicken Fingers? Man, this dude was a gangster. Chicken Fingers was busting heads on the street, you know, real head buster, you know. And Chicken Fingers was up in the prison. Chicken Fingers would be like, you know what I mean? I'm about that, yay or nay. I'm about that business, yay or nay. And dudes would be like, yay, Chicken Fingers, yay. He said, the N-word ain't never told me nay yet. N-word ain't never told me nay yet. You know what I mean? And so Chicken Fingers got busted because Chicken Fingers loved to eat that fried chicken. And everybody in the hood knew Chicken Fingers like that fried chicken. See, Chicken Fingers would be hanging out. He'd be riding his car, you know what I mean? He'd be you know, he was on the block, you know what I mean? Bumping, you know, some New Orleans bounce music or something, you know, and he'd be out there on the set, you know, and Chicken Fingers had a chicken wing in his hand, you know what I mean? Chicken thigh, chicken leg, you know. He said, like, man, choose chicken. But his favorite was that Church's chicken. He said, man, look, say y'all, yay or nay, that Church is the best chicken they got. Yay or nay, bro. Dudes be like, nay, Chicken Fingers, I ain't gonna agree with you on that one. He'd be like, why y'all say Churches ain't the best? Dude be like, I ain't gonna lie, I grew up on that Popeyes, you heard me? And he'd be like, I hear you, but I'm gonna say nay to that Popeyes. See, I like my Popeyes, but I'm about my Churches. And look, they had a Churches right there in Holly Grove back in the day. And it ain't there no more, you know? Like they tore it down, but that Churches used to go there. Then that Chicken Fingers, you go over there, get that Churches chicken. Anyway, he'd be eating that chicken. So one day, he seen a dude that he was beefing with. He got that Church's chicken. He got crusty chicken flakes just dropping all in the car. He just in his zone, chilling, you know what I mean? He got his 9mm sitting on the side seat. He's sitting there, you know what I mean? He got some Ricky B music playing, you know what I mean? Shake it for your hood. If you know it's all good, yeah, you're right, it's all right. Yeah, you're right. Eating that chicken, you know what I mean? And he like, damn, man, that's that dude. That's that dude that jacked me. They said he put the chicken down. He grabbed his Nina, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? He didn't realize the police was sitting over there. He tossed the gun out and takes off. You know what I mean? All the heaters are hot anyway. You know what I mean? Heaters are hot, so they toss them out. Chicken Fingers toss it out. The reason when the police went to test the chicken, the strap for his fingerprints, Chicken Fingers was on there because he had so much grease on his fingers. It stuck on it. He was already known as Chicken Fingers because he ate the chicken. But the police now knew that Chicken Fingers was definitely Chicken Fingers because his fingerprint from the chicken grease on the 9. So Chicken Fingers was like, man, they got me. You know what I mean? Good thing he didn't hit the dude, you know, but he definitely bust some heads. And that was Chicken Fingers. And so I just gave you a list of comprehensive prison nicknames. Share in the comments what one you thought was your favorite one out of all the ones I shared. And listen, in prison, there are absurd prison nicknames. But there are also serious prison nicknames. I mean, obviously, Chicken Fingers and Dorag White were about their business on this list. And there are a lot of people in prison who have nicknames and they earned it because they were savages. They were beasts. They were soldiers, like they say down here in Louisiana, and they handle their business, But I don't just want to talk and glamorize prison for the sake of glamorizing prison and make it look like, oh man, I got to beat my chest and it's the hardest thing that ever happened to me. You know what I mean? You don't get bragging rights for being a convict. You know what I mean? It's something that I went through and it's something that I'm still dealing with because of the consequences of being a felon. But I used to be ashamed to admit to people that I actually been to prison. It wasn't until later on, after my incarceration, that I used to be able to open up about it and speak so freely like I do now about it. And I'm not ashamed anymore because I realized it also molded me into the good man that I am today. Prison did, it taught me a lot of things, right? But anyway, I promised you at the end of this video, I would tell you how you can get your very own prison nickname. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. If you want your own prison nickname, I want you to share in the comments 2 sentences. Give me 2 lines or give me a brief description or bullet point about who you are and what you are. In other words, for me, something I would put, if I wanted a prison nickname, I would put, I collect vintage action figures. I enjoy Dragon Ball Z. I drink Pepsi. You know what I mean? And then you give me a prison nickname based on that. Or you could share something else about yourself or share something about a coworker that you don't like or that you really want to make fun of. Give a sentence or something brief about them. And I will do my best to give that person a prison nickname based on the description that you shared about that person in the comments or about yourself. You want a prison nickname? You can get it. Give us a sentence about yourself and I'll go in there and give you a prison nickname based on what you tell me about yourself. And if the comments get so large to where I can't keep up with everything, there are a lot of other ex-convicts on my channel who watch the channel and who type into the comments. They can also feel free to, in their opinion, give you a prison nickname based on the information that you give. So if anybody's watching this and you've been to prison and somebody types in the comments something about themselves and you want to type in and give them a prison nickname, then feel free. This is a way that we can interact with each other in the community and have fun with this channel, because that's ultimately what I want to do. As we, expand and grow the Pen and The Shank, the most unusual and unique crime and prison channel experience on YouTube, where we do things different. We tell stories different, and I approach the prison YouTube genre different than other channels. I just want to be unique and different, and maybe I'll give you an unusual and unique prison nickname, and one of my viewers will do the same, give you an unusual and unique prison nickname based on their experiences, based on what you said. So let's see how this thing goes. It's a test, and we'll see how it works, man. Thanks, like and subscribe, and hit that bell notification, and let's do this.